prepare different kinds of meals for us, and there's always that one vegetable that you just could not stand, and it would be there, and you'd be like, oh, we have to have this again. And my thing, after leaving the house is that I never liked cauliflower. That was my one vegetable. I could probably eat. I'm not the pickiest of eater. My mother just set out the weirdest things. I mean, when your parents come from the Philippines, it's normal to eat fish heads and to have all sorts of craziness out there on the table, snails and things like that. Stuff that would kind of make your stomach turn out here in meat and potato land. And so what happens is that my mother would, and I don't know why, but she would set out cauliflower and it would just like turn my stomach. And I think it's because one time that I was reading about warts, and in the description of this wart, it said it has a cauliflower-like appearance. And I'm like, ugh. And then my mother served cauliflower that night. I'm like, I know I got warts, and I was like 4 or 5 years old or something like that. And cauliflower has never been my thing. So all of us have that one certain vegetable, and it kind of stems from what mom put on the table or from a bad experience that you had. So mine was cauliflower. What else did you guys have, like vegetable-wise, that you're like, eh? Any Brussels sprouts, people? No. Okra. Yeah. I mean, you bite into that thing and you get this burst of slime coming out through it. That's like, oh, what in the world? And it's all hairy on the outside. That first person who ate okra must have been truly brave. Yeah, or really hungry. Okay, so we got okra, some Brussels sprouts persons here. People like cauliflower, No other cauliflower people that are like, but you like cauliflower. Oh man. Yeah, I guess if you cook it right, or if you're not reading about warts, then you'll probably be in good shape. Yeah. What is that? Parsnips. That's kind of like potato-ish, right? Or it's like more beetish, potato-ish, rooty, carroty. Okay. But it's real crunchy, right? Rutabaga. Okay, these are all kind of, I'm not familiar. Frank had
my worst vegetable growing up is every sheep we butchered had a liver. And Mom had to cook that liver. And why it didn't get thrown out, I don't know, but she'd make us kids eat that liver. That was my worst vegetable.
That's a great vegetable. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I look just like that kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So we all have that one. I don't know. What else have we got out there? Anything that just kind of still turns your stomach to this day? No. Okay. So I've had to really, this past month, learn to eat cauliflower. And it's been tough. But we actually got these pizza crusts. You guys see these today? They just grind up cauliflower and mix all sorts of seasonings and other things, and they actually make pizza crust out of this. And I was really skeptical because I'm a thick crust kind of guy. Okay, and here we got this really thin, crispy thing coming out of the oven, but we put all the toppings on there. I'm like, wow, this thing is fantastic. And so over the last couple of weeks and months, I'm like, wow, I kind of like it. And it's taken me all 39 years of my life to try to, okay, I can kind of get through this. And it's actually good. And so we've been investigating all sorts of weird cauliflower recipes. You can mash it and turn it into potatoes, and we made cauliflower bread that you grind up, add eggs to it, and you fry it, and you can make we made like grilled cheese sandwiches out of them. So it's actually okay. It's taking a lot of reprogramming in my mind to realize, okay, we got to learn to appreciate it for what God intended it for us. So I'm learning to like it. So every single little thing, yeah, it has value. Some of these things we may like and some things we may not. And that's exactly what we're going to find out right here, is the value that God has put within the growing universe. That's what's happening right here on day number 3 of creation. So Genesis chapter 1, verses 9 through 13. We're going to look at 2 kind of specific areas. And what God does is that he defines the geological makeup of the pre-flood world. So what happens in the past couple of weeks, from the very beginning of the book, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when he created it, it was formless, it was empty. And then he spoke forth, he said, let there be light, and there was light. And this early creation contained all the necessary elements to produce a habitation for mankind. God called it good, which is the Hebrew word it's for the benefit of mankind. So the light he created for the benefit of mankind, the lands he created for the benefit of mankind. The next day, which is the Hebrew word yom, meaning a literal time span of 24 hours, he separated the waters and placed an expanse. He placed a firmament between the waters, above and below, and now we have the 3rd day of creation. It has been empty, but now God is starting to fill it, and all these things are for the habitation of man. So Genesis chapter 1, and this is where God starts defining the geological makeup, and he starts filling it with plants. Genesis chapter 1, verse 9 begins right here. Let's read through the passage. It says, "Then God said, let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas, and God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with seed in them on the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, and trees bearing fruit with seed in them after their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was an evening, and there was a morning, a 3rd day." So let's kind of detail what is happening in this passage. So we have 2 main kind of ideas that are communicated here. And the first one is that you see that landmass is found. So you have right here in verse 9, let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place. So you have earth covered by water. And then he said, let it all be gathered in one place, and let dry land appear. So it was so. God called the dry land earth, the gathering of the waters he called seas. And so here we have God gathering all the waters that are on earth into one place. And this suggests that there was one ocean and one continent. So think about this, and this is kind of what we see right here. One place, you have a single ocean, you have a single continent. And yes, I do believe that there was one single landmass at one time. Now, evolutionists claim that they originated the idea that the world was one landmass, and they call it Pangea. But the Bible has been saying it for all along, from the very beginning. It's just that from a biblical creationist view, we interpret the facts differently than what the evolutionists will say. Just interpret the evidence much differently. I see evidence when I look at the land masses, and you can see right there that South America fits right there perfectly into that southern armpit or that western armpit of Africa. And so there is a inherent jigsaw puzzle that you can see fitting together right there. It's just that I see evidence for a global catastrophe that could create all of the landforms in a short amount of time. And I believe that a lot of water and a little bit of time could have produced all of these land masses. Evolutionists will say a little bit of water and a lot of time. And we're going to discuss this in greater detail when we get into chapters 6 and 7 of Genesis, when we talk about the hydroplate theory and we talk about the flood of Noah's day. We'll talk about that in specificity. But I believe that yes, as Scripture says, that all the masses of land were one at one point, and all of the oceans were together as one. It's just that we have two different world viewpoints, from the biblical creationists to the evolutionists today. I find it very ironic that people will deny that, I believe that in the beginning God created the heavens and earth. That was about 6,000 years ago, and then at about 4,000 years ago, that a great flood happened on this earth, and it wiped out all of the animals and all the people that were not aboard the ark that Noah had been instructed to build. That was 4,000 years ago, and then 2,000 years ago, Christ came to this earth to redeem mankind. I believe that there was a flood that caused catastrophe, that we see the rock layers today, that you see the deposition of sedimentary rock layers, and you see fossils within those rock layers. Now, a lot of people will say that, there's no such thing as a worldwide flood. They will deny what Scripture is saying here. So my question to them is, why do we see 11-foot wide mussel shells that have been found on top of the mountains in Peru? Okay, some of the highest land masses on the face of this earth, why do we find 11-foot wide ones? And notice that they're in the closed position. The evolutionists will say, well, they were upheaved that way. They were placed up there, it was down below the water, and then they got upheaved like that. But the problem is that the erosion rates are greater than the uplift rates. So uplift can't keep pace with erosion. So erosion will wear things down, uplift will bring things up. And so you have the Andes Mountains, which is 4,000 meters above sea level. They would, given the erosion rates, they would erode in 56 million years. Yet evolutionists claim that these oysters, these 11-foot oysters atop the Andes Mountains, they date from 200 million years. Okay, so put simply, if the Andes were really 200 million years old, they would no longer be there. Okay? So the erosion rates are a lot faster than the uplift rates. So why are these supposedly millions of years old fossils on top of the mountains? Clear as mud? Okay? All right. Why do we have whale fossils in the Andes? Some of the highest mountains on the face of this earth, why do we find complete whale fossils up there? In 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest. He found millions of petrified clams, again in the closed position. Now, you seafood lovers, okay, what happens when a clam dies? When you cook it, it opens up, all right? So when a clam dies, it opens up. So why are all these clams, these 11-foot clams, all right, why are they in the closed position? Well, I would venture to say that a big catastrophe happened and buried them really quickly under a lot of sedimentary rock, and then they were closed in that closed position. Because I believe 4,000 years ago, the Great Flood happened and destroyed all of living life that was not on the earth. And they were stuck in that closed position. These fossils, were buried suddenly and catastrophically. 11 foot wide. Remember last week we said because of the higher pressures, because of the higher oxygen content, things could grow a lot bigger. Because we were protected from the cosmic rays that we have from the sun. You also have that ability that cells are not damaged by the cosmic rays that are from space. You also, those of you who cook, okay, you know, the best sea salt, you go out to Costco, they got pink Himalayan sea salt, some of you have that, okay? Sea salt from the Himalayas. Okay, put that together, Himalayas, mountains. Why is there sea salt up in the Himalayas? Well, I would venture to say perhaps there was water up there, and then one day God said, okay, well, let's let the mountains rise up, and then you have these great depositions of sea salt, you have these great depositions of fossils, you have whale fossils, you have clam shells. Even right here, we have a county called Mussel Shell up here in Montana, right? We're several thousand feet above sea level. Why is there mussel shells up high? Well, I would venture to say that was underwater at one time. I find it ironic. Perhaps it was all underwater. The whole entire earth was underwater. Maybe Noah's flood or something like that. We'll talk about that in chapter 6 and chapter 7. I also find it very ironic that a recent scientific study states that Mars, they're looking at Mars and they're looking at all the geological formations on Mars, and they say that, wow, because of, you see these little riffles and you see layers, perhaps Mars was underwater at one time. And the biggest scientists are saying, oh, Mars had a planetary flood at one time. So the experts conclude that at one time Mars experienced a planetary flood. So a dry planet with no visible liquid water was underwater, according to them. A dry planet. It was flooded. That's what they're saying. So why am I being called an idiot to say that our planet, which is nearly 72% water, was once underwater? Why am I being called a complete idiot that, oh, look at this. 72% of it, of our planet, is water. I'm the fool. I'm the fool for saying that there was a flood across this earth. But they're saying this dry planet, Mars, was underwater at one time. All the waters were collected into one place. All the land was in one place, right here in this early creation. And then God takes a step back. Verse 10, called the dry land earth, and the gathering of waters, called seas. And then God saw that it was good. So the word good means salubrious. It's beneficial for sustaining life. We talked about this and just a couple of weeks ago. Again, good, beneficial for man. This land that was created, that was brought up out of the sea, was for your good, for your benefit. This land is your land. This land is my land. It's for your benefit. Woody Guthrie didn't come up with it. It was Genesis who said, which it says that it is for your benefit. So landmass is founded. The second thing is that vegetation is formed. So look here, we got verse 11 through 13. Let's read this once again. Then God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, fruit trees bearing fruit after their kind, with seed in them on the earth, and it was so. And then verse 12 reiterates, the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed after their kind, trees bearing fruit with seed in them after their kind. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, there was morning, a third day. So God has a planet, once formless of void, now ready, is ready for bearing life. And he starts with all kinds of plant life, mature ones, with their organ systems ready in place and working, and they're ready to bear seeds and fruit. There's a word in there that's used in the text that we need to take a note of, because this is going to be reiterated throughout this chapter. So the first mention of this word is right here in verse 11, and it's the word kind. And we're going to review this as we go along, because it will come back later in the chapter. And this is not the man-made word species, but it's the word kind, and it's the Hebrew word min, meaning a specific groups of life. And creation scientists have come along and they've made a transliteration of the Hebrew word, and they call this baramin. Okay, we're going to talk about this in the next couple of weeks, but it means created kind. So God created plants in different kinds. So you have tree kind, you have the flowering kind, you have the grass kind. This describes specific groups of life. When it comes to animals, well, we're going to discover this on the 6th day of creation. When it comes to animals, you will have the canine kind. So dogs, wolves, all of those, canine kind. You have the feline kind, cats, mountain lions, tigers, lions. You have the equine kind, which is horses, and you have even zebras, almost that, donkeys. That's the equine kind. So every single designation has a kind. That word is min. There's a transliteration, baramin, talking about the kinds. And the problem is that you don't see transitional forms from one kind into another. You don't see a change of kinds. You ask an evolutionist, give me an example of evolution, a change of kinds. Okay, like a lizard changing into a bird. The reptile kind transitioning into the avian kind. It's just not there. You're not going to see a transition from one kind into another. There's a little video by Ray Comfort. It's called God versus Evolution. There's a little clip I want to show us, and this will kind of give us a little preface to the 6th day of creation, but it details in more about what it means to be a kind, as it says right there in verse 11. So let's take a look at this.
Live science says of Darwinian evolution, it can turn dinosaurs into birds, apes into humans, and amphibious mammals into whales.
What Darwin showed in his work on evolution and natural selection is that we don't need to invoke any supernatural force or power to account for the development of life through time on Earth.
The ongoing processes that are observable in today's.
A scientific method is based on the collection of data through observation and experimentation. Science Daily.
We can trace the evolution through the fossil record.
To be specific, just give me one.
Between 6 and 7 million years ago.
Hundreds of thousands to millions of years.
Evolution is not testable over time.
We are condemned to live only for a few decades, and that's too slow, too small a time scale to see evolution going on. Richard Dawkins. We see nothing of these slow changes in progress until the hand of time has marked the lapse of ages. Charles Darwin.
You've got the canine kind, the coyote, and the domestic dog, and there's the feline kind, which is the cats, the tiger and the kitten, and you've got humankind. So Darwin said there'd be a change of kinds over many years, so could you give me one example of observable evidence of a change of kinds?
For instance, the fossil record shows the common ancestors of all carnivores, that cats and dogs were once linked, united by a common ancestor.
How long ago?
This, I believe, was like 60 million years ago.
The scientific method must be observable and repeatable. So could you give me one piece of observable evidence for Darwinian evolution?
Okay, I would point to, as one great example is look at the genetics of the stickleback.
What's that?
So stickleback fish are a very interesting collection of species that were recently isolated after the end of the Ice Age.
What have they become?
They're various species of sticklebacks.
They stayed as fish.
Well,
Can you give me an example of Darwinian evolution, not adaptation or speciation, but a change of kinds?
these are changes of kinds.
Still fish.
They're distinctly different fish.
We have thousands of examples.
Can you give me one?
I can give you thousands.
Just one.
For instance, I would say look at Lenski's experiments of bacteria then.
So what do the bacteria become?
The bacteria are still bacteria, of course.
That's not Darwinian evolution. That's not a change of kinds, is it?
It is a change in the genetic makeup of the bacteria, which
They're
is
still bacteria. So what do the bacteria become?
A new kind of bacteria.
Still bacteria. There's no change of kinds. To summarize, the observable evidence that you give me for Darwinian evolution is bacteria becoming bacteria.
No, it is bacteria acquiring new metabolic capabilities.
You said before that there is lots of evidence for evolution. I just want one observable evidence for Darwinian evolution, just one.
but I gave you some. You don't want.
Not some, I want one.
You don't want that.
I want one. Yes, I do. I'm pleading with you.
You asked me to tell you. You asked me to tell you when I've watched one species evolve into another. Isn't that right?
No, one kind into another. There's 14 different definitions of species. So I want a change of a kind.
When you're talking about kinds of change in families, we're actually talking about macroevolution. You're talking about changes on the level that separates, say, cats from dogs.
Could you give me any examples of Darwinian evolution?
Well, when you say examples of that, then you have to sort of look over a long
When I
time.
say change of kind, you mean the evolution of one species from another or to another? Yes, we have that in action actually in the Galapagos.
Could you give me one instance?
We have an example from a group of birds called Darwin's finches.
The finches become.
They become genetically new and anatomically new, recognizably different
So
species.
there's still finches?
Well, of course, they're still finches, yes.
No.
You press somebody hard and long enough, there is no transition between kinds. Okay? You pretty much have to take it by faith. Trust that it's there, because there is no evidence. Even the experts say there are thousands of examples, but stickleback, still stickleback. Finch, still finch. You don't have one transition from one kind into another. The missing links are just that. They are missing. We'll get into this more specifically in about 4 weeks, but this passage is talking specifically about the plant kind. So you got tree kind, you got flower kind, you got grass kind. Okay? Now, what you notice here, there's several other little phrases, other little words here. So it says seeds. Okay? And so I want us to note that the flora that was created was in a state of maturity. So when God created the plants, He didn't just stick seeds in the plants. He made plants that were already mature, that were developed, that had the ability to reproduce itself. And the flora was created in a state of maturity. There's an inherent genetic complexity to a plant that can reproduce itself. Take all of it from its parent plant and then reproduce the same exact qualities inside of a son or daughter plant, for lack of a better word. The seeds itself are beneficial to man. These are, again, God uses the word good to describe it. Remember, the word good, when all throughout this chapter, will describe it's beneficial to man. Now, skip ahead to verse 29. Okay? It says here that God will give us the fruit, the vegetables, and the seeds for food. So look, then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth. He's speaking to man. And every tree which has fruit yielding seed, and it shall be food for you. Okay, so he says, usually we eat the fruit. Sometimes we eat the leaves. But it says even here that the seeds themselves are food for us. We don't eat seeds very often. Take, for example, peaches. Okay, how many of us will go in and crack that little nut open and eat that thing, okay? Inside of the seed of the peach, you open it up, there's like a little almond-sized thing in there. If you ever eat it, it'll that thing is bitter. That'll pucker you up for about a week. Okay? But inside of the seed, it contains a vitamin called B17. Okay? And it has a little bit of cyanide in it. But what they have found out is that with the combination of this, that it actually destroys part of the proteins that are in cancer cells. So what you're finding is that even there's a group of people in northern Pakistan, and they're called the Hunzas. And one of their favorite foods is apricot seeds. Or do you say apricot? I say apricot. Okay. All right. But their favorite food are these seeds. And they have no incidence of cancer amongst that whole entire tribe. Because God said, the fruit is for your food, the plant is for your food, even the seeds are for your food. I think God had the idea that this was beneficial for mankind, that even the very things that He created for us are for our benefit, to fight off disease, make us healthier. The word good, once again, is a supplement to health. It's for the benefit of mankind. Even the things that we would consider as, ugh, I just don't want that. Cauliflower. There are benefits to all these things that God created for us. Even the things like weeds. We would consider weeds today. Weeds have a value and purpose for our benefit. So you have the yampong, or the morning glory, and I had to do some research here, but borotac, which is painter's brushweed. You guys see these before? Okay, these are actually, you use them as vegetables, and they're actually edible. Even the climbing, it's called the cadena de amor, is a culinary delight eaten by the Thai people. I remember as a little child, I ate weed. I grew up on weed, okay? My mother would cook that, and it was actually pretty good. You have different kinds of drugs that are out there. Scopolamine. Scopolamine. Okay, thank you. I'm really stretching here. Okay, it's an important drug for treating motion sickness, and it comes from nightshade. Wow. So weed. I remember I saw a lot of nightshade when I was weeding bean fields in college, and that is actually used for motion sickness. Here's another one, vinblastine. Is that right? Okay. Which is used to treat Hodgkin disease, vincristine, which is used to treat childhood leukemia, certain types of cancer. They're all derived from periwinkles. So, even the weeds we have a derivative which can cure our diseases. So, maybe instead of growing wheat, you guys should be growing weeds out there and, sell that to the drug companies. Even the things that we would say are not, I don't want to even go there. I don't like those things. God had a purpose, a plan, and it was for the benefit or for the good of man. Everything that God placed on this earth was for you're good. Step out from this building today, you're going to see all sorts of things in creation. God placed that there just for you. And that tells me that He loves you. And that tells me that He cares for you. Psalm 23 says that God, as the good shepherd, He will lead us into green pastures. That which we need, God will provide. We just have to trust the shepherd that He's going to take care of us. Think about that imagery. He leads me beside the still waters. He leads me on pastures. Right there, Psalm 23. There's imagery that we have in our minds what that looks like, and it's really cool. You guys know Ray Vanderland? Okay, Focus on a Family. He talks about these green pastures. We already have an image of what that's supposed to be like, but he describes this really well, and this is maybe our last little thing right here. Let's take a look.
As part of the shepherd lesson, I did want to look at one thing in the wilderness that will maybe surprise you a bit. Believe it or not, this is called wilderness, midbar, but it's also called green pastures. Now, when you take a Westerner here the first time and you look at this, you find people say, well, I don't know that I can go there. Because the Psalm 23, the Lord leads me into green pastures, has been pictured as belly-deep alfalfa. Well, you haven't seen any belly-deep alfalfa. And from biblical time to today, it's rare to see a flock in the farm country. There isn't a lot of farm country in this culture, and so farmers kept the shepherds out as much as they could. Maybe they would come in a little bit after the harvest to glean what was left, but you don't want sheep where you can farm. This is the land of the shepherd. Right on the hillside across from us, you can see those grazing trails, cut there by sheep maybe as long ago as Abraham's time. They're spaced so that an animal on one path and an animal on another can reach right to the middle between them. That determines the distance, so you can graze an entire hillside. And the shepherds lead their sheep across that hillside slowly, grazing what's there. Now, you look at it from here and you say, what's there? In fact, I remember my first impression. I woke up one morning, I was sleeping out in the wilderness, and I remember waking up, watching a flock of sheep on a hillside like this, and my feeling was, what are those, rock-eating sheep? I mean, what do they eat? How can you call this green pastures? Well, the answer is, there's a small amount of moisture present here. They get a little bit of rain every year. Not much, but a little. Second, there is humidity in the air, especially in the evening breeze, like right now, you can feel it. Coming from the west off the Mediterranean, there's moisture in the air. That moisture, combination of the rain and the humidity, condenses or drips along the edge of these rocks here. And if you notice, right around the rocks, almost always next to the rocks, you get little tufts of green. Get one a moment. That's what we refer to as the green pastures. So the shepherd looks for a hillside. That's exactly what she was doing. Look at that flock across from us there. Just stunning. Those two shepherd girls have found a hillside that either was exposed to the wind or had that small amount of rain. And they move that flock across the hillside, and it's one mouthful here, walk a step or two, another mouthful, another mouthful, another mouthful. Now that changes the green pasture image a little bit, besides the picture changing radically. Green pastures are not everything you need for the rest of your life. If you make that belly-deep alfalfa, then what God is saying, if you follow me, I'm going to plunk you down and you'll never have to move an inch the rest of your life. Just reach out and grab it. Tell me that your life with God has been like that. Worry, said one rabbi, is dealing with tomorrow's problems on today's pasture. In the desert, you learn the shepherd will get you what you need for right now. 10 minutes from now, you trust the shepherd. Just enough.
Can I change your imagery of that? See, God has something great for you. And it's not going to be thick, lush, green alfalfa. But He will get you what you need the most, right here and right now. You just have to trust the shepherd. We may not get the 4 inches of rain we wanted. Okay? Even the 2 inches of rain that I prayed for, and I'm trusting God's going to do that. But what He will provide for us, He says, pray this day, give us this day our daily bread. He doesn't say, give us this month all that we need for this month or for this year, everything. He says this day. This day is a gift. And He will take care of you right here and right now. All of us just simply have to trust that the shepherd, the good shepherd, is going to lead us to that next little thing. So for you graduates, sometimes it's not going to be perfect. This world is going to be a struggle. You're going to be like, man, where is the green here? There's just rocks. This is miserable. But if you trust the shepherd, He's going to lead you to every single little step of the way. He's going to provide for you along the way. All throughout our lives, ever since I was 17, God has showed His hand of faithfulness. I haven't gone a day hungry because He has given me this day my daily bread. I just simply had to trust the shepherd. I didn't realize, this several times in our life. When I first got married, I tell you about this. Got appendicitis on our honeymoon. $10,000 hospital bill right out of the blocks. Better, worse, richer for poorer, sickness, health. We had to take our vows very seriously day one. But tell you what, God provided on those days. Some of you are struggling right now. And you're still dreaming of those soft, billowy fields of greens that you've always wanted. But let me tell you, if you trust the shepherd, He's not going to necessarily provide the lushness, but He's going to provide a little tuft of grass along the way. He's going to take care of you. And so, let us this day, let's give thanks for that little thing of grass. He's taking care of us. He's created it all for your benefit. And if we just simply trust Him, He's going to take care of you every step of the way. Amen? Let's pray. Lord, You have said to us in Your word that in everything give thanks. So, Lord, I thank You for a lawn that is very brown. I thank You for a sky that is bright, and sometimes it gets hot, a wind that blows. I thank You for trials. I thank You for blessings. I thank You for graduations. I thank You for transitions of time in our lives. I thank You for those things that we would consider good blessings, and then I thank You for those things that would try us, that would make us trust You even more and realize that our strength comes from You. All of these things, Lord, are from Your hand, and I realize, Lord, that You do not give us bad gifts. To everything there is a season. And Lord, that which draws me closer to You is a blessing. So if it's a good one, or if it's a bad one, if it draws me closer to You, Lord, I'm grateful. I'm thankful. So Lord, I pray for all of us today, would You give us this day our daily bread. Show Your hand of faithfulness. You are a good God who loves us immensely, who has created all these things for our benefit. And so, Lord, I just want to take a step back, even right now. Just me and You alone, God. Thank You for everything. You're the good shepherd. Lead us into green pastures. provide for your children today. And we're going to trust you with it. Thank you for these lessons, dear Lord. Pray that you will take us from here just nourished and feeding in the sovereignty of your good grace. We love you. Pray all this in the precious and holy name of Jesus. And all God's people said.